for me, it's really clear over the past few weeks about like who to focus in on, and that's the silent majority, and it is that for real.
My view changed over the, as I went through the pain and all that stuff. My view went to how do I achieve the best results so that I can accomplish the goals that I
And
have,
there it is, everything. That's
Yep,
beautiful.
that's it.
Justin, what's going on?
Yeah, I've been really enjoying my time off so far because I've already pretty much watched all of the old CTM sessions from the recommended playlist because I was watching your channel for a long time before I ever joined the course, and finally when I dove in and I found this just treasure trove of all this stuff in the recommended playlist, I'm like watching like just all the time repeatedly. I mean, listening to it all the time. And so I've been able to go back and look at more of those and
Did you
go
see the
revisit
video How to
charts.
Thrive in CTM? And it gives you like the foundation of order. Was that helpful?
Oh yeah, yeah. I watched it and I was like, man, this is like it's gold. I mean, it's as good as gold. I mean, really, or maybe as good
Yeah,
as
it
Bitcoin.
was
I don't know.
amazing the work that took place during that year,
Yeah,
and it's
yeah,
just as relevant today as it was then. It's the
yeah,
same exact thing. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. And I remember when I was finally starting your course, one of your first videos in the course module was talking about. I think you quoted Bill Gates when he says you overestimate what you can do in 2 years and underestimate what you can do in 10.
Yeah.
And I remember that like I've really been working in my life on that long term like time horizon mindset.
Yeah.
And I thought about that and I was just like, man, like yeah, you work on a plan and you develop your steps in the near term, but you also have to think about the medium and the long term and really stay the course. And I
Well,
think
what's
that
interesting is
yeah,
teachers, soon become very good with managing money. Is that
yeah.
your experience from your colleagues? That
Oh yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. So I think that teachers could kind of uh, grow to understand the savings technology of Bitcoin,
Yeah.
pretty quickly because they understand how to
Yeah.
budget their money, right? And they understand
Hmm.
time and how time works in their favor, right? Get
Yeah.
your
Yeah,
graduate degree,
100%.
you're making more money quicker. You're putting more money toward your pension. I think teachers really get it more than a lot of other areas.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. Yeah. Yeah, so I mean, I mean, I've again this summer I've been really going back through old videos and things and just continuing to enrich because I think that that's being in education, that's one thing. And I think I mentioned this to you before, but the thing that was the most um, one of the most appealing things about your channel was you always were talking growth mindset, like always learning, even for all the experience that you have, always letting the market teach you, always looking to other people to learn things, to pull those nuggets out. And as a teacher, growth mindset, like that's what I'm all about. I not only got to have that myself, but I teach my students to have
Wow.
that mindset.
Wow.
So I mean, that's when I saw that, when I first saw your channel last year, I was just like, yeah, this guy's for real. This guy's
I mean, this
legit.
is one of the great things about CTM is the far-reaching CTM principles, right? We're
Yeah.
of course hyper focused on the market from a standpoint of a trader, as an investor, how we could conquer the markets and profit from them. But at the same time, we're always looking, to become better people and to learn more, right? And
Right.
these principles that translate all across the community that really, I think, make it, for me, it really, really special.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think in one of your early videos, I think you ask a question and you're like, has the market humbled you? And that really stood out to me because one, the market's really humbled me. Um, but then also because in order to have the growth mindset, you have to be humble. You have to like realize you don't know everything. And there's
What,
always going
what
to
what were
be.
your goals when you first started getting into trading?
So I, you know, I I'm the type of person that it takes me a long time to really dive into something. So I'm a researcher. I have to research and research and research and look and learn until finally, after I think I've been watching the markets and reading about investing and trading and things like that for maybe almost a year before I ever did anything, before I ever put any money to work or anything. So when I jumped in, I had this mindset like, wow, okay, I think I've learned enough, which was the biggest mistake of my life because I never had any money going into it. I didn't have like what happens when you have your money behind something. What are the emotions that come in? But when I first started, I'll be honest with you. When I first started, I kind of got, I don't want to say manipulated or tricked, but I had heard enough people talk about, oh, there's this easy way to, get rich and you can trade options and all this stuff. And I think
Wait,
what
so
I
was that,
was
was that your goal to get rich?
So yeah, I mean, in one way, yeah, but I think ultimately what my dad and I have been talking a lot about over the years about passive income. And one of the things that I've thought about with being financially free and having passive income is that you have the freedom to do what you want to do. Um, where I feel like one thing that I was different from a lot of people that I know about, a lot of people I know, they want to get rich because they don't want to have to do anything. And I was thinking, no, I would rather, if I was rich or if I had lots of passive income, if I was financially free, then I could actually do more productive things for my family or my community. And as I started thinking with that long-term mindset, I started thinking, oh, wow, so I could do this, I could do this, I could start this foundation. I could and since I'm an educator, I've really been thinking a lot about trying to do some kind of like nonprofit education academy. I really haven't thought it all the way through. Just something where I can offer like a holistic education to anybody of all ages. And I've been really,
But then it
grinding
comes
on
back
that and
to like,
thinking
this is
about that.
beautiful again, once again, aligning, conquering the market's principles. And
Mhm.
there are so many of us out there now, taking what we're getting from the markets and putting it out into the world like that. And it becomes like, well, how do I fund my charity? Right?
Yeah.
Well, I got to fund my charity through my investments. What's the best investment to make? I tried the get rich quick thing. That didn't work. Yeah, I got humbled by the market, right? But now, like, I'm lived the growth mindset, right, in all
Mhm.
areas of my life, not just with those in CTM, with those in the classroom, with my dad planning. I got his wisdom to plug into, and I come to understand. Well, I got to be investing on multiple levels. There's that long term investment. What's that plan, right?
Mhm.
And then there's also, okay, let me go back, let me find out what the CTM course is talking about, what's the CTM strategy and principles. And instead of trying to like cut to the top of the class and cut the whole line, let me
Right.
start building that foundation, because it's a treasure trove of information that you can't find anywhere else. And
Yeah.
is that so? Would you like to be like working on what more towards like this whole fire concept, right? Save more money than you spend, and with that money,
Mhm.
have a decent return on that money, right? What's a decent
Yeah.
return in the money? In the program, we talk about, we're in the video, what realistic profits, and we show what a very substantial return, 2.5% per month, right? But something
Yeah.
very achievable, what you could do over a period of 10 years, starting with almost no money, $3,000, and over 15 years. Is that really where a large part of your focus is right now?
Yeah. I think, having tried bunch of things, I think my biggest problem in it was for a lot of my life was that, you know, life happens, family things happen. I never really was able to save a whole lot, and I never was really able to invest before. And so I think that's where a lot of people who are in my position, they get that view of, oh, if there's an opportunity for you to get rich quick, oh, you could get it.
Right.
But 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 what I realized though is that it doesn't take very much to start. And I actually um I think you have a public version of the video of your video from the CTM playlist that I played for one of my classes one time. I'm a history teacher.
Right.
I don't teach, econ, economics, or anything like that, or math. I teach history. But when I saw that video, the public video, I thought I got to show this to my students, because if I
Which
can get
video was
them to,
that?
it was the same one about returns, but it was the public one.
Yeah.
So, but I shared that with them because I wanted them to see that even at their age, if they can start small, it doesn't take very much. And
Uh,
I thought like I'm 32 years old. The students I'm teaching are, 15, 16, 17, 18 years old.
right.
And I was like, you guys, if you for 20 years
Right.
put principles to work, you guys would be only a few years older than I am
Well, that
now.
money's so much more powerful at their age.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
So, like, yeah. You can
And I told
imagine when I
them,
went to school, like lunch was $1, and
yeah.
if you
Oh
that
yeah.
lunch money is, but if you were taking that dollar back then and just
Hmm.
putting it into the stock market, right? If you whatever it was at the time doesn't even matter, right? Even into the just a dollar into the stock market, because of the devaluation of the dollar today, it looks like
Right.
something substantial, right? If
Yeah.
you start
Yeah.
taking a dollar today and learning to, I mean, if it's a small amount of money, maybe lunch probably now is $3. But
Right.
if you
Yeah.
take that $3 that you buy for lunch and put another $3 into Bitcoin as your kids going through elementary school and high school, by the time they don't have to worry about what they're going to do. They could do whatever they want. They could do
Yeah.
whatever they want in life and pursue
Yeah.
things that are fulfilling because financially they're taken care of. Most
Yeah. Oh yeah.
likely, nothing's guaranteed, but do you have a better
Right.
plan?
Yeah. And they were like, some of the students I was teaching, they were starting to calculate, well, wait a minute. So if I put this amount of money away for 20 years, I told them they would be only a few years older than I am now,
Right?
and they would be far, far ahead of where I am now at
Did you
my
see
age.
light bulbs going off in their heads?
Yeah, I mean, their eyes get this big, and like they start writing things down,
I
and
always wondered why that wasn't taught in school. So I'm so glad you're teaching that in school. That's
yeah,
so crucial for the future
yeah,
of the kids. Yeah.
yeah, and it's part of, my heart is, and I think I told you before, I want to be useful and helpful to everybody that I come into contact with. And so I have just found in my life, and that, a lot of people aren't talking about investing in my circles. They're not talking about financial freedom. And if I can bring that into their life, if I can help them through the things that I've learned from you, from CTM, that I'm all about that. I really care. For my whole life, I've always, when I was a kid, I always, I wanted to be a hero, and so I kind of have lived my life trying to be a hero to people, and that could be through, whatever impact I make on my students' lives. If I can make an impact on people in my life and their financial future for the better, then, I can be the hero for them in that way, as well. And so, because I've got my fair share of heroes. I mean, you're one of my, heroes now these days, because of what, not just what you have helped me with, but just who you are, and who you are for so many other people in
I mean,
CTM. And
I'm
I
just
know.
Jordan. Everyone knows that I'm just Jordan. But
Right, right.
and listen, I was thinking about when you're talking about teaching these kids about the power of time and saving, right? And when you're doing that,
Hmm.
you were doing that in dollars, right? And I don't
Hmm.
know if the kid's 15 years old or how much money you spoke about saving monthly, but in 10 years from now, like let's just use a number like $10,000. Like the student had saved up $10,000. I think that, like, to take it further, next time you're talking with these kids, explain to them. I had this conversation with an Uber driver last week. It was a young guy. He works really hard, and he had a small family. And I was talking to him, if he ever, was into saving and budgeting and investing. And then I got him to understand that, like, if he saves $10,000 over 10 years, that $10,000 is not going to have the same purchasing power it has today.
Yeah.
That $10,000 might only have the purchasing power of $5,000 today, or even $3,000, right? And then I tried to get to
Right.
him to explain, well, if you're investing in Amazon stock, you're going to more keep that purchasing power, but that number is going to look like it went up a lot. But it's not
Hmm.
that it went up, it's the purchasing power of your initial principal that went down. And
Yeah.
then I got him to see, the value case of Bitcoin. And if he had that $10,000 in Bitcoin, how that $10,000 in the purchasing power of Bitcoin would be far greater 10
Oh
years from now.
yeah.
And I think this is simplifying things that are very complicated and take a lot of time. It's very so someone could begin their journey of asking further questions and finding out what they need to do. And it just takes, an everyday hero, right? Having the conversation
Right.
with someone, explaining it to them, and helping someone else also get on the road.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's again, we're back to where the growth mindset comes in, because it's not just being exposed to an idea or to something like that. It's also being having the right mindset to say, this is something worth investing my mind in, investing my time in, and then investing my money in, and learning more about it. Not just hearing it and saying, oh, that's cool, and then just continuing to do everything the way I've always done it and say, oh, I'm just good enough. It's about how can I grow and make myself better? How can I make not just myself better, but everything around me better?
Right.
And if you have that growth mindset, then I mean, you're living and breathing that every single day.
And
Um,
hearing you talk about it, it makes me think also of mindfulness. Because to have the growth mindset, you need to be mindful of it. So it
mhm.
comes from like many different areas. Like, I want to be a better person. Okay, that's the greater goal. And then how do you go about that from a day to day basis? Like, well, I want to work harder and and giving more attention selflessly to those around me, right? And then like
Mhm.
maybe like some time goes by, and then like you remember, oh wait a second, I could be making more of an effort here. And I think the growth mindset and the mindfulness behind it is a process that is like everything else, and it has its ups and downs. And usually as you're getting on board and you're learning that you could actually think about the world differently, you go through this massive huge upwave, right?
Mhm.
And I think it's important while you're in that moment to really put as much effort as you can to working on yourself, to reading as much as you can. I don't know if you ever saw Impact Theory on YouTube. Great channel. Go watch it, Justin. There'll be interesting titles that you're interested in, and
Mhm.
watch some and just like going through all different areas, right? And then expect the waves and the ups and downs, right? And then learn as you're going through certain waves, maybe certain lulls. Like that's when you need to be more patient on yourself. That's when
Yeah.
maybe you need maybe you just need to drink more water. Maybe your energy's been down. Maybe your head hasn't been clear. Maybe like right now you just know, wait, I haven't been drinking enough water, and it could be something simple like that. Or I know myself, like in a couple of weeks ago, I shifted. My wife showed me a pyramid, and at the bottom of the pyramid was like dark leafy greens and vegetables, and I was like, that's not the base of my diet, right? And I made a conscious effort to make that like just having bowls of thick lettuce, right? But I also noticed that I felt much better since, right? And it's interesting because that contagious growth mindset just translates to all areas of our lives.
Mhm. Yeah. Yeah, that's exactly right. Yeah. And I appreciate what you said too about having patience when you're in those plateaus, because you it's so exciting when you're learning a lot early on, and then that excitement wears off, and then you think, oh, something must be wrong. It must not have been real. And then you shift over to the next new exciting thing, and you just got to stay focused on,
I've seen that
continuing
happen
to.
with a lot of traders in the CTM program, where they'll go through first, they'll learn what's going on, and then they'll start actually actively following the strategy, right? Taking up to 3 trades a week with the correct risk management, taking the correct setups, and within those first 3 or 4 months, a substantial amount of people are able to put up constant profit. 1% for a month, and then like they're ready to go live, and then but they're hitting a plateau, or they think they got it and they don't have it yet because the market in 3 months is only going through one cycle usually, right? Maybe that was a
Hmm.
trending cycle and it was easy for you. And now you hit consolidation, but you don't know yet how to recognize trending in ranges, and you're still trading and over trading, and it like then they flip to something else instead of staying the course, which is in that video, realistic profits. At the end,
Hmm.
it says you have to stay the course, right? And people are too quick to pivot. I'm glad.
Yeah, and it goes back into that, it's almost natural to feel like you need to be moving forward at the same or an accelerating pace all the time, and just going back to that whole people feel like they just need to get rich now, and I think what you were absolutely right when in quoting Bill Gates, like you overestimate what you do in 2 years. Like you just think you're way further than you are. And that's where I personally thought I was, even really early when I got into the markets. I thought I was way further than I was in my knowledge. But I lacked experience, and it was really painful early on. And I also got into the market officially, around like what 5-6 months before the March crash. So that was really the trial by fire.
When did you find conquering the markets?
So the first video I saw of yours, I think I saw a live stream of yours back in May, um,
May
early May
2020.
in 2020,
Yeah.
and I kind of flagged your channel, and I thought, okay, because I was trying to look for all sorts of different minds, all sorts of different types of investors and traders. Um, and I was also teaching, so my days were not always fully available. And then during the summer, at times I would, when I'm up in the morning drinking my coffee, I'd go pop on a couple of YouTube videos. I'd see your live streams after the fact. I was on the old replay crew. Um, and as the year went on, I was watching them more and more. And there was like that magnet about growth mindset and just your willingness to help other people, and just being a good man, and like it's like that right combination of all of those things that got me to start becoming a daily watcher. And sometimes I would watch live in the morning, or listen live in the morning as I'm prepping for school,
Mm-hmm.
or I would have to watch later in the afternoon. But then it was almost a daily thing for me. And so I think by the time I want to say I became a regular out around the middle or end of August, I
About a
became like
year.
a regular.
Yeah.
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 Where daily paying attention and keeping track and all that. Um, and then I was like, oh, he's got a Twitter. I'll follow him on Twitter. Um, and then I followed you, and then I tweeted something like about the importance of listening to multiple voices. And I think I mentioned you, and then all of a sudden it said, Jordan Lindsay followed you. And I was like, what? Why would he follow me? Uh, but yeah, so that was really funny. But yeah, so that was kind of how my conquering the markets journey started. And then I remember looking back and thinking like, wow, if I had just been maybe back in May when I first started, if I had just started watching it all the time and like really soaking it in and really focusing in on it, and if I had joined the course sooner, man, like how things would have been different, even just over the last year,
Well, you're
you
still
know?
so early. I mean,
Yeah.
and what about, you started becoming more active about a year ago, 11 months ago. And then how long have you been first introduced to the course, the greater CTM community? And then when did you actually go back and be like, I'm going to start following the course now and working the course? Like what happened between those periods?
So I, so let's see, back kind of, I would say September, maybe. I started looking into what the course was going to be about. And because I think when I first started watching your videos, you were doing a lot of Forex, but also you would you were looking at the equity markets and gold and silver and all that, and Bitcoin, all that stuff. And so when I finally pinned down that the meat of it is Forex, And I looked into, watched your videos about consistent returns, and I realized that that's what the course was about. And Forex was something that was totally foreign to me. I didn't understand it at
You knew
all.
stocks, right?
Yeah,
Up
just
in the
stocks.
US. Yeah.
Yeah, stocks, and pretty much that's it. So um, I and also a little bit of crypto, but I actually didn't take the dive into crypto. I didn't commit until after being watching CTM. Um, and when I realized, like, and that's, I've been saying this a lot, like popping in on, on Discord or on your videos in the comments or in the chat and saying, like, Bitcoin's great, but FX is where consistent returns are. And so that's part of my strategy, is utilizing both of those things in their proper time,
Right.
Um, and so I've actually been able to develop that strategy as a result of that. So when I finally joined, so I started watching some of your Forex stuff specifically, and I opened one of those paper demo accounts on Awanda, and I've been just paper trading and stuff like that. Um, and then I had a phase where I would still watch videos, but I thought, okay, I understand it now.
Okay.
And and the problem was I had a couple early successes, in my paper account. So then you get that confirmation bias and that kind of arrogance about it. And I thought, oh, I'm good. And then the paper account actually started like turning, not so good. My trading wasn't as good.
Right.
And then I had to kind of go back to the drawing board, and the one thing I was missing was I hadn't taken the real full step into the course. And I thought, you know what? Like, I need to invest my time. This is what I'm all about. I need to invest my time. I need to invest my mind. I need to learn. And the best way I'm going to be able to do that is to fully jump in. And so I talked to my wife. I was like, hey, here's what I'm thinking. Are you okay with me doing this? Because, that's, in marriage, it's always a partnership, right? So, and she was all about it. She was for it. She's for my growth. She also has the growth mindset. And so I jumped in, and, I thought I was like singing in the streets, like, I am in. And,
It feels good to be committed, but,
yeah, yeah.
but people, very few commit, right? Very
Yeah.
few actually. Everyone wants, but no one wants to put the work in.
Yeah. 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 So I've now been, I don't even remember how many months it's been. It hasn't been all I know is it hasn't been as many months as it should have been, since I've been involved, officially, fully invested in CTM. But yeah, it's been great. And I've really been able to be sharpened by, not especially by you continuing forward, but also by other members of CTM, and just all the work that everyone's doing. And it's iron sharpens iron. You said that a lot.
Never dreamed it would become such a beautiful thing. Yeah.
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 That's awesome.
It's crazy thinking back to when I first started watching your videos, and then on following you on Twitter, like just the explosion of people who have found CTM and
how
are
much
even
they
just
offer.
watching. Oh
Absolutely
yeah.
ridiculous.
Yeah. So, and then obviously through that, I, found Heath's channel. I found Brandon's channel, and then all the others who don't have channels, but probably could have channels, for their trading and stuff like that. And
Alan, good, perfect example.
And Alan.
Yes.
Yeah.
So many. Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, it's been a ride. And I think, it's still about being patient and having the long-term mindset, because again, even now, it's still so easy to get so excited and thinking that things are going to have to move super fast.
Right.
But I got to be patient, and I got to put the work in, and the work is not easy. And you got to be willing to do that hard work. And I think the greatest, we have to always fight ourselves. We always have to fight our own minds. We have to fight our own emotion all the time. And so even like with all the stuff with Bitcoin the last couple of months, even though I've been really trying to hone in my Forex trading, the Bitcoin stuff hasn't been easy. I on my stuff, I've been very, my accounts, I've been very outspoken about, things, kind of echoing a lot of what you talk about. Um, and it hasn't been easy, but I still have that conviction, which is something that I've learned a lot about in the last, 6 months to a year, is having conviction in what you do. If you're doing the work, if you're doing good work, then you got to stay committed to what you are doing. And that means staying in a trade, not backing out too early. That means, not giving into your fear, not giving into your greed, but staying the course, as you say. So that's been kind of
But
where
I feel
I'm
like
at right now.
listening to you, it kind of brings it back to like what should be the basic also. Like using Bitcoin, right, as that long-term saving technology. I mean, obviously I get into it when it comes to Bitcoin, and
Right.
obviously I show where my heart is, where my mind is. I think everyone understands why, right? But at the same time, like you don't have to get as accurate as myself, right? That could be viewed from a like, listen, over the next 10 and 20 years, I understand the kids understand now the power of
Mm-hmm.
compounding in money. Do I want to compound that in dollars, which is going to be losing purchasing power in the future, or have I decided to do that into Bitcoin? And then be able to put this over here and then pull out this one over here. And now I'm looking like, how could I learn to make that consistent return in the market on FX, and what do I need to do to develop that skill? And I think that's bringing it back to basics right there.
Yeah. Yeah. And the gravy on top of that is, if you trade FX, if you learn to do it on FX, you can do it on any market.
Absolutely.
And
Yeah.
so if you have, you
Better.
have a lot of people in CTM who want to do stocks and things like that. And if
Yeah,
that's
a
what you
ton.
want to
The
do,
channel's so active. Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, it's like, if you want to do that, great, no problem.
And the same thing with
Um,
altcoins. If you want to trade them, like, here's how you trade them, right? Yeah.
yeah. Yeah. And so that's the best thing. That's one of the, like, things that has been really amazing about learning in CTM, is you realize that you can apply these principles to everything in the markets. And like, but it just takes that investment. It just takes that commitment and that time.
That time. Yeah.
Yeah.
Speaking of which, you know what? This has been like really a pleasure. I don't ever get to do anything like this, and I like, it's so important for, like, we talk about ups and downs. For me, kind of being able to take a second, see what's going on, and how I want to like make that turn for the CTM and the ship, and make sure everyone's focus is where it needs to be. But in
Yeah.
investing your time, there are those that are interested. And I'm gonna play this video you put together this week on this video. I'm just gonna play it now for everyone so they could see what you're at, what you're doing, coming from that educator standpoint, because you're a teacher inside you, what you're
Mm-hmm.
learning, how you're putting it together, so people can see what you're doing. And then, people who want to work more, obviously you're on the Discord, right? Working with everyone in CTM, but also on
Mm-hmm.
your channel here on YouTube. Let me go ahead and make sure people know how to get onto that so they can follow your work and interact with you. And specifically, jump over to the video that we're going to show now so they could comment. Don't, if you want to comment about Justin's video, do it on his YouTube channel so that we can have everything, organized as such and easy.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. Okay.
So we're going to get into that right now.
So that's where I established that top zone. And then as I went, I was looking for a bottom. And, you could have put in lines here and here and down here and here. But after this price action played out, I felt it was comfortable to be able to establish a line here, as you can see my mouse on the screen. And so what this is starting to do is, even though it's sold down here, it's really clearly respecting this sideways range, right? So I want you to understand something as we go. One theme that will be really obvious and evident, and I want to really emphasize throughout this lesson, is patience. Because if you look, from the time that I established this kind of upper resistance level, this is back looking at, this looks like around March maybe 15th or so. that I established this line, and it's the beginning of April before I put this bottom line for the range. So I had to kind of wait for price action to develop along here, because as the price comes down, you don't really know where it's going to land. You don't really know what's going to happen. You don't know if this move is going to keep going. You don't know if it's going to bounce back up and go on an upward trajectory. You have no idea. And this is a fundamental principle that you need to remember, and that is that you don't chase momentum. Once this is going down, a person might think, oh, it's going down, I want to buy it. But more likely, if once you see it, if it's already been happening, if the momentum is already moving, you missed it. And you're more likely to accidentally get in the trade right here on the downside, and then it'll turn against you really quickly. And so you want to wait and be patient, and it may take days or weeks or even months for it to establish a range. Okay, so what you see here is the sideways price action seems to be within this range. And it turns out that that range was especially useful, because here we have on this next chart, and again, I just want to emphasize, look at the time that has passed from when I put this first line, right? So kind of early March 2020. And then at the beginning of April, I established the bottom zone, and the top zone held and the bottom zone held. And it's not until right, at the end of May that you get this first breakout on the 8-hour chart. And so I want to highlight the length of time that it took for this consolidation to happen. Now, if you are wanting to be aggressive and to day trade, then or swing trade on a very small time frame, then you could try to do this, but it's just, if you look at the price action, there's no, it didn't come down all the way here or here. It didn't come up all the way here or here. So you just never know. And what you're looking for is clarity. You want clear, definitive price action to take place. And so this pair remained in consolidation for almost 3 months. And that's really
my view changed over the, as I went through the pain and all that stuff. My view went to, how do I achieve the best results so that I can accomplish the goals that I have?
And there it is, everything. That's it.
Yep.
Beautiful.
That's it.
Justin, what an awesome conversation.
Yeah. I appreciate your time. I know you're a busy man. I know
it's just
you got
the kids, we got so many of them, and they're so young and they need so much attention.
Yeah. And that's the thing too. I thought about, I try to think about the other side of, so it's great having a lot of subscribers, having a lot of people, looking to you on Discord, on Twitter, but for you, I'm sure it's so difficult because you can't give everybody what they want, and it's like people demand so much of you, but you have your priorities. And I've appreciated that so much about you, that you prioritize what matters, but then you also
have the heart that wants to help everyone.
And you don't neglect the community, Yeah.
All right, Justin, I'm going to go though.
Okay.
Is there anything else
thanks
you
for your time, Jordan. What's that?
Is there anything else you wanted to talk about?
Oh man. If we had all the time in the world, there would be all sorts of questions I would ask you about, when you first got involved, all the things about
I wanted to talk about it when we were talking about it. That's when I asked you, actually, I was like, well, what were your expectations when you first got into the market, right? And it was boiled down very quickly, right or wrong, to to get rich quickly, which is a lot. For me though, it was like, all right, and this is honest, for me it was, wow, this is incredibly challenging, and also affords the greatest freedom, right?
Yeah.
It wasn't really get rich quick, is here's the way to get the most money.
Yeah.
So I was interested.
And that's really good. I think my view changed over the, as I went through the pain and all that stuff. My view went to, how do I achieve the best results so that I can accomplish the goals that I have?
And there it is, everything. That's it.
Yep.
Beautiful.
That's it. So, I don't know. I feel like there's been questions that I've had for you in the past regarding actual trading and things like that. But then I realized as I watched, you would like, there were things that was wondering about, you would answer with like little nuggets here and there, like in the live streams. And then it's just a matter of like
Everyone
putting it all together.
kind of like the cheat sheet, and they want to,
Yeah.
but it's not how it works, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So, but yeah, I mean, I just, I want to be, obviously as I'm learning, I also want to be a resource and I want to be a help. So that's why, I wanted to be a mod and all that stuff so I could be helpful.
Thank you.
In the community and stuff like that. So, I just, again, really appreciate.
Are you getting a lot from the overall, or not from the community on Discord? Is that an asset?
Yeah. So it's really funny though, because sometimes, there are some individuals and some people who they're a little bit more active, throughout a day. And a lot of them, I would say I fundamentally disagree with some of the like short time frames and things like that some people are more focused in on, and that's their prerogative and that's fine. But sometimes that conversation creates a lot of noise.
Yeah.
And so sometimes I find, okay, I need to back out of this channel for a little bit.
Right.
Because I don't want to get chopped up in the noise, but that's something that I choose to do. I don't think that that's a bad thing for.
But have you been able, like within the Forex channel or the mechanical, have you been able to find a niche, the HODL channel, something that, is a little less noisy?
So I find, because I have tended to focus more on like stocks and I've focused a lot on GBTC, because that was actually the first investment into the crypto space that I ever made.
Right.
Because I don't know why I wasn't committing. Oh, it was because I had a bad view about like liquidity and like, and fractional Bitcoin and stuff like that, which I quickly like changed my view on that. But I've actually like, I spend a lot of time on the stock channel for that purpose. And then also in the HODL and I've been trying to venture more into the Forex channel, because I'm really wanting to put out the things that I feel like I've learned. And as I'm tracking based on my charting that I'm still growing and still have a lot of growth left, and still a lot to learn in that.
Well, that's important because, as you know, as a teacher, like, you learn the most having to be an educator. Mm-hmm. By going ahead and presenting your work and what you're doing to others, that obviously only helps you be better at what you do.
Yeah. So that's kind of my primary focus, is in those channels. And then I pop into other channels occasionally and put in my 2 cents if I need to, but sometimes just watching the conversation is good.
Yeah.
So
awesome.
So yeah, I think it's been helpful for me, not just to learn by watching, but also to learn through my involvement and to be able to contribute in that way. So I hope I can continue to keep doing that in a useful way.
You're awesome. Thank you so much, Justin.
Yeah. Thanks for chatting with me.